Welcome to She Lancer, Mom Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Angela Olfest, otherwise known as VoiceOver Angela. In this podcast, we talk about my adventures in freelancing, my voiceover business, and everything else in between. Let's get started. Hey everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I appreciate you spending some time with me and everyone else here to hang out, talk about voiceover stuff. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator. And my channel here on YouTube is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And those of you that are maybe not new. But well, of course, we ask for your advice and your perceptions and insights, any kind of nuggets that you want to share with everybody else. Anywho, if you're not new here, then every week we have a new poll. And actually, today's topic was decided on a poll that I put out, I don't know, a few days ago, about a week ago, maybe, asking you guys what you wanted to talk about. And this one was casting sites and pay-to-plays was the overwhelming response. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's check out the poll. So today's poll, of course, was how many casting sites do you have a profile and demos on? Now, as I've mentioned before, there are tons of them. There are casting sites, there are pay-to-plays, otherwise known as P2Ps, right? You'll probably see that quite a bit in your research and other Facebook groups and things. Also, we have freelance marketplaces. I mean, these are above and beyond, working with a client directly or having an agent or anything else. This is just one of the spokes in which to find voiceover and or audiobook work, right? These casting sites, pay-to-plays are, of course, ACX, right? Fiverr, Upwork, Bidalgo, Voice 123. There's Voquent, of course, Voice Giant, Voice Jungle. There are literally, I think the last time I checked, over 100 of them. There was another list here, Spoken Realms. I know I'm forgetting some. Mandy, Backstage, People Per Hour, Voice Crew, there's a ton. There's a ton of them. So I wanted to know how many you guys were on. So let's see. So far, we have 39 votes, 40 votes, and it looks like 50% of you said none yet. What are you waiting for? Those are just opportunities waiting to be plucked, right? 40% of you, so a little less than half of you said 1 to 3, which is good because I think from my own experience, these some of these profiles take a lot of babysitting. They require you to be either active or on your responses fairly quickly. So starting out with just a handful is not necessarily a bad idea. Although a lot of these sites will allow you to have a free profile on until you become a paid member. But these free profiles mean that the client has to find you and you cannot audition for jobs. You just kind of sit there and look pretty with all of your demos and things, but you can't audition until you become a paying member, right? But it has surprised me time and time again, and how many times that I have put my profile, my picture, my demos on a site, and then quite literally forgot that I was there. And then I get a message saying, hey, you have an order or you have a job to do. So definitely don't underestimate just having, your information on a free site without being a paid member. Okay, we got a couple more votes. So 51% of you said none yet. 40% of you said 1 to 3. 7% of you said 4 to 6. And 2% of you said 7+. I think working your way up to 7+ is definitely a plus. Because again, you never know when someone's going to come across your profile and go, that's the voice I'm looking for, right? All right, let's get over to the comments. And I'm actually quite surprised by how many of you said none yet. It's daunting. It's a little intimidating, and some of them are quite tedious to fill out, right? But a necessity, right? Not only to have a bio about you, and by the way, you can have a longer bio and a shorter bio just kind of written out on a Word document and copy and paste it, maybe do some tweaks for each one. And then having your profile picture and having some demos, and some of them will even require, I think most of them now will even require that you go through some security steps. I know it's tedious, but it's for your own protection. So definitely go through all of those things and get verified if they ask you to get verified. Do those things because they will only protect you and also give yourself credibility when people are looking, when clients are looking for a voice artist and they come across you and they love your voice, but maybe you're not verified or you haven't gone through the security process, what have you. And that just makes them go, I wonder if that's actually a real person, right? They do the same thing to us that we do to anyone else when we're shopping for something, right? We want to look for that credibility. Did I just go off on a tangent? I think I might have. But I think it was necessary. All right. Now let's go to the comments. Let's see who's here. Who's first in? Phantom Voice. Good morning, Phantom Voice. Oh, hello. I didn't see you standing there. Just joshing around. Happy October 21st? 4th? It is October 24th. Halloween is a week away. Wish it was Friday. I wish it was next Tuesday. But I can't work with Tuesday because I get to watch and listen to you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Joya says, I said none yet, but I don't think ACX is counted as a P2P, so I think that's right. I'm not sure I'm in the market for the P2P with my chosen use of VO. You're a little bit different because you, I think, for the most part, narrate your own books, right? I think maybe at one point you were maybe interested in other people's, but I think for the most part you're just focusing on your own. But I would think that ACX is a casting site. Maybe not so much a pay to play because there's really nothing that you have to pay for, but it is still a site in which to be found. So I think I would call it a casting site, not so much a P2P. Dylan's here. I answered 3. ACX, Fiverr, Upwork, if those count. Yes, they do. I have profiles on VDC and another P2P site, but they're free profiles that I set up a while ago. Good. Again, I'm surprised at how many times that happens when I quite frankly forget that I'm on the site and I get a message saying, hey, you have an invitation or a job. Fox Aches. Hello, all. Hello, Fox Aches. How are you? Caesar said, I voted none yet. Still getting all my ducks in a row, but hey, who knows what the future holds. I think, again, you're precariously close to the edge of procrastinating. I think you are ready. I think you are more than ready. I think you need to get a few of these done, at least a handful, get a couple, 2, 3. I think you're ready. Oh, we got a super chat. Hold on. So many comments. Oh my gosh. Thanks, guys. Sean Lester's here. Hey, Sean. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. What percentage of your time do you spend working on babysitting your P2P sites, direct marketing versus P2P? I would say that the babysitting of the P2P sites, meaning checking in on messages, answering client requests, maybe perhaps submitting an audition, answering questions. That takes a pretty good chunk of the day, but you know what? It's worth it because it turns into work, right? Not only on the sites because their algorithms require or it behooves you to be present and active and making sure that their clients that they spent millions of dollars to get there are well taken care of by the people to the sellers they are reaching out to. So it takes, I don't even know what kind of percentage. Of course, it varies from day to day, depending on the activity on any of the sites. at any one time, but it's a periodic check-in from place to place. Um, maybe 20%, 30%, perhaps, depending on what's going on. But again, worth it because it turns into not only jobs, but building relationships with some of these clients. That's never a bad thing, right? Oh my goodness. Um, I think we're here. Caesar said, that said, hello, Angela. Hello, Caesar. Hello, everyone. I got my insane laptop. It has a liquid metal thermal interface that keeps a laptop cool even when the fans are off. Dead silent and great for recording. That sounds awesome. Computers are so cool. Fiber Jazz says, happy Tuesday, everyone. Kudos on the new computer, Caesar. It sounds great. What make model did you purchase? And then Caesar says, it's an Asus ROG Strix Scar 18 because gaming laptops have to have unnecessarily aggressive names. Of course they do. It's almost a requirement at this point. It does. Or it is. Fiberjet, wish you many happy gaming hours with your new baby. Lots of recording hours, Caesar. MG Steven says, good morning, Angela and everyone. Good morning, MG. Caesar says, oh, I certainly shall. And recording too. Let's not forget recording. Awesome. Miriam Berger. Is it Berger or Berger? You know, I hate butchering people's names. I apologize. Hello, Angela and all. New to this site live. Always just listened to the recordings and had wished I was able to chime in. Well, now you can, and you're here. So welcome. Glad to have you. The more the merrier, right? Dylan says to Caesar, that sounds beautiful. Pamela says, good Tuesday, y'all. Good Tuesday to you, Pamela. Chrissy Sells is here. I've decided that when I get a new laptop, I'll be getting the one you got, Caesar. You know, we just had to get one for my son for his birthday, and it was a gaming laptop. Same thing, because he wants to get into coding and a lot of other like video editing and stuff. So a gaming laptop is good for that too, because they typically have a better graphics card and a little bit more horsepower to do multitasking things. So that would be a good purchase, especially if it's all liquid cooled and things. So the fan probably doesn't have to kick on as often. That's also a good thing for recording because it'll be quiet and you can have it probably in the room with you instead of having to route it outside or as far away from the mic as possible. Fiber Jazz says, of course, and recording for games too, Caesar. Pat Heron. Good morning, Angela and everyone. Good morning, Pat. Gregory is here. Good Tootie Tuesday. Good morning to you, Gregory. Phil says, hey, Angela, thanks for the follow. Hey, all. Yes, I was on the TikToks this morning and I found Phil was following me, so I followed back. Hey, Phil. Caesar says to Dylan, it's undeniably aesthetic. To Chrissy Sells, go for it. It can do so much. It can also double as a cutting board, shield, and a blunt force weapon. Technically, but I wouldn't recommend it. Glowin says, top of the morning or afternoon to you, voiceover Angela in chat. Hope you're all having a great day. May your coffee be strong and hot. Mine is neither, sadly, but still drinkable, my opinion. Real Copywriters is here. Hello. Good morning, Real. Hi, Angela. I've been starting to audition on ACX and just made my profile on Findaway. Good job. I just can't get anything on Fiverr and Upwork, but your ACX Adobe Audition settings videos have helped a lot. Well, good. I hope so. And I need to start making some new videos. Actually, while we're all here, what would you guys like to see a video on? Maybe perhaps if you're watching this in replay, use the comments and let me know what your inquiring minds want to know. But I'm glad they helped. And Fiverr and Upwork are two of those sites that need a lot of babysitting. They need a lot of touch, everyday touch point, at least once a day. But a very helpful thing for both of those to have is the app. Both of those sites have a mobile app that you can download onto your phone. And that way it's easier to keep on top of. You can, of course, turn all the notifications on. So that way, anytime there's any kind of activity on your profile or your gigs, you get a question, you get notified of that, and then you can respond right away, which you definitely want to do. And that will help to maybe cut down on, negative response times and things like that you have to babysit. So that will definitely help. JCCAOL says 2 new Audible recommendations: Ghost Stories read by Stephen Fry with great background noise, and Slayer's a Buffyverse story with performers. Multiple performers. Angela, you did like, yes. Buffy was probably one of my favorite shows in the 90s for sure. I have all the seasons on DVD, of course. But I saw that too, and I was a little disappointed that Sarah Michelle was not a part, or David Boreanaz, right? I don't think either one of them is in, but Spike is, so that's okay too. Glowin says, I only have one profile so far on ACX, and that's a good start. I mean, don't think it's a bad thing to only have one. Some people want to start out slow and sort of warm up to or get used to having to communicate and being available online. It's a little bit of a, I guess it is kind of a culture shock, isn't it? For those of us that are not, myself included, I was not really used to having to be available online all the time. So it's a little bit of a change in mentality and habit, right? So start out slow if you have to. Start out on one and kind of feel it out, and then put your profile in a few more and a few more. But obviously, the more you're available on sooner, the more opportunities you might start to see, right? So don't wait too long. Daruk says, hello, Angela. Well, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Joya says to Caesar, you spent $2,000 on a laptop? They're not cheap, Joya. They're not cheap. Joyous. Oh, he says absolutely not. So he might have got a good deal. Actually, though, the one we just got from my son wasn't. It's about half that, but we still got a good deal on it. It wasn't even that. I have a story, says, still working on the basics and getting familiar with editing, equalizing, etc. Yes. While I was in that same place and still getting the basics and familiar with your DAW and how everything works, you still at the same time want to start building all of the elements that will build a profile, i.e., writing out a bio, right? Having a nice profile picture taken. And also, a side note about the bios that you create for all of these sites: do not say that you're brand new to VoiceOver. You may be brand new to VoiceOver, and you may be wanting to be, as I always say, be as transparent as possible with your clients. However, saying that you're brand new in your profile might inadvertently just stick a fork in you from day one, or send the wrong impression. Excuse me. Because if you say that you're brand new in your profile, you might inadvertently be telling your client that you don't know what you're doing. That very well may be true, but you'll never have an opportunity to move forward, right? Even if you're a seasoned actor and perhaps new to voiceover, I still wouldn't say that you're new to voiceover, even though if you have the acting chops, you have the performance chops, but maybe the technical side is a little bit new. Working online is a little bit new. I would still not say that you're new to voiceover, because even with all the credits in the IMDb page or whatever it is that you have is going to be wasted if you say you're brand new to voiceover, because again, that might send the wrong impression. So personally, my own advice, the same thing I did, don't say that you're brand new. You don't want to send the wrong idea before you even get started. Real Copywriter says my MacBook Pro M2 was $3,000. Well, that's a MacBook Pro. They've got a big price tag. John Atkinson says, Angela, do you have any advice on creating a website for my VO domain? What should be there and what should not? That's a great question. From my own personal experience, what I did is the first thing you could do is start looking around at different hosting sites to see what's a better deal. I think most of them, like I use Wix, but there's also, I think, GoDaddy, there's Squarespace. There's a handful of others that I just can't think of at the top of my head. Blue something. But if you sign up for a free website, you can do that too. However, it's going to be bare bones, and it's probably going to have whatever domain or whatever website hosting's logo and branding all over it. So it'll be, www.yourname.wix.com, something like that. So it'll look a little less professional, as if it were your own domain, of course, but you can have a free site to play around with, I think, at first, right? Until you find the right template, the right color palette, because there's a lot that goes into branding. And I think even before you get into building a website, you want to decide what your business name is going to be. What are you going to be known as? Is there a website domain available in that name, right? So there's a lot of stuff that you probably want to do to prepare to start looking to build a website. But once you have what your business name is going to be, or what you're going to go by decided, your color palettes, right? Your branded palette of colors, perhaps even a logo. Those things need to be considered as well. But what you actually need on your website is, I think, a picture of you, right? Eye to eye contact with the person you want to do business with, a smiling, welcoming picture of you, maybe if you want to. Um, a little bit about you, about who you are as a person, maybe a little bit about the equipment that you have, but you want to make it sort of customer centric. Not so much about me, but what can I do for you as the client, right? Customer centric. What can I offer you? What can I do for you? This is what I can give you, right? With everything that I have. And then also a way to contact you, whether your email address is on there or if you can have a contact form, right? And then also a way to hear you, whether your website hosting domain has like VoiceZam, or a way to have it like an audio player on it, or a link to a SoundCloud, list of demos, a playlist of demos, some way to listen to you, some way to contact you, and a little bit about you and a picture of you, I think, are the bare bones. I think eventually you're probably going to want to have a page of demos, like a portfolio. That way you can send that link to clients in the future, and also to other pay to play websites and things like that. Um, but I think bare bones, I think, in the beginning until you build it out, I think that's probably okay. Tiff Stellar Reed says, how much time does a new VO typically spend doing client work in hours per day? I'm curious because from an outside perspective, it seems like it would take some time to do it. I'm not sure what is typical, because I think, again, there are so many variables to every VO. I think a lot of them will spend a lot of time with a big chunk of their day with marketing, with, cold calling or email marketing. And then another chunk of their day with talking to repeat, current clients they're currently working with, answering questions. And then another chunk of the day actually doing the VO work, right? Recording and video editing, or whatever else they do. And then some people also have a job on the side, a part-time job, full-time job. Some people even have families that they need to attend to and be present for. So it's going to vary from place to place to place. But I could tell you from my own personal experience, when I was doing this, I was employed full-time and out of the house for 11 hours a day. I would come home, help with homework, do the dinner, get the kiddo in bed, and then I would come down here for 2 or 3 hours, in the nighttime, sometimes weekends, to stay on top of things. And then I think the natural progression usually of this question is, when did you decide to leave to do this full time? Was when I was starting to lose money. My business was losing money by being employed for with somebody else, right? But again, it's going to vary day to day. But I would expect in the beginning to allow yourself a few hours every day to be building out your website, filling out the profiles on these casting sites and pay to plays, doing the actual voiceover work, right? Building your business. I think that's a pretty solid start, a few hours a day to be building it out. Dylan says to Caesar, perhaps. Glowin says to Joya, $2,000 on a good laptop is average today. Getting the good processing speed and graphics is necessary. I agree. I would say that's, somewhere between 900 and 2,000 is probably average. Caesar says to Joya, That's just the lower end model. The Scar edition is nearly 5,000. Real Copywriter says voices. I don't know. What did I miss? Voices? Like voices.com? Joya says to Caesar, you're freaking crazy. We all knew that. Caesar says to Joya, but it's mine. I'll tell you, it's mine, my precious. Foxake says, I just checked ACX while I was waiting, and I got an author who wants me to do his book. But after listening to my audition, he's afraid he can't afford me, which is amazing as I'm a newbie. Here's what I would do. I'm assuming it's per finished hour that he's offering you, and he says he can't afford you. You could suggest Royalty Share Plus, which is typically a smaller amount per finished hour, but then you'll also be sharing royalties on that book going forward for the next 7 years. He'll get 20% of the sales and you'll get 20% of the sales. But before you offer that, I would check and see what kind of sales is this book getting? What's its sales rank on Amazon? If, there's a lot of 5-star reviews, it's got a smaller number as a sales rank, then perhaps do it. If he's got maybe an established fan base, then that's what I would do. But again, ultimately what you decide to do is whatever is best for your business. If you want to offer him a lower per finished hour rate, you can do that. If you want to do just royalty share, you can do that. This is your business. You decide what you want to do. Negotiate. Real Copywriter says Upwork charges you like 7 connects per week just to show you're available. I just got tired of paying for connects to reach people as well as just to show availability. Yeah, I don't like that either, but you brought up a great point that a lot of these casting sites and pay-to-play sites, they all get their piece of the pie in different ways, right? Some of them have a monthly membership. Some of them have in-game currency like Upwork with their connects, where you have to have each connect is like, I think it was like, works out to be like 15 cents. And then it takes 6, 7, 12 of those to be able to bid on a job. But ideally on Upwork, what you want to do is have an eye-catching and compelling enough profile that people reach out to you to audition, right? They invite you to audition, which costs you nothing. But getting back to the pay type, some of them will charge you monthly, some of them will charge you quarterly, some of them charge you annually, some of them biannually. Some of them will also charge you a membership fee, every year, and then they'll also take a percentage of what you make. Some of them just take a percentage of what you make. So whatever you do decide to do as far as how many sites that you want to sign up on, make sure that you take a look at their pricing structure so you have a firm understanding. Also, some of them will do what is called escrow. You enter into a contract with a client. The site will collect the money that's ultimately going to go to you and hold it in escrow until the job is complete and the client says, yep, everything's good, go ahead and release the funds. Other sites require you to invoice the client directly. So make sure that you have a firm understanding on how these sites work, how they get paid, right? Because everybody gets a piece of the pie. It's just the cost of doing business. And then also how you get your money, right? Are you required to invoice, or are they going to hold it in escrow and then release it to you? How do you get paid? How do they get paid? Make sure you have an understanding of both of those. Glowin says, as I mentioned, I have only the one, to be fair. It's a little daunting still to put myself out there. I don't consider myself good enough to be worthy of being on all those said pro sites. All those paid pro sites. Glowin, just do it. Just do it. Stop cutting yourself down and just do it. Ignore the imposter syndrome, the little imposter monster that sits on our shoulder. Just flick him off and go for it. Do it. Foxake says, by the way, hi, Angela. Hi, Foxakes. How you doing? Sophia says, good morning. Good morning, Sophia. Sophia. You know what? Really quick, let's go back and check the poll because I'm curious. I'm curiouser and curiouser. So again, the poll today was, how many casting sites do you have a profile and demos on? Now we have 57 votes. It's still an overwhelmingly high half of you. A high half of you? 53% of you said none yet. 38% of you said one to three. 7% of you said 4 to 6, and 2% of you said 7 plus. I would be in the 7 plus category. Because again, I think the more sites that you're on only adds to your professionalism and your credibility. If someone were to Google your name and then all of these casting sites come up, right, with your profile on them, it shows that you're dedicated, you took the time, you filled them out, you're available, and this is in fact what you do, right? You look less like a bot or a scammer if you have multiple profiles on multiple sites, right? I hope that makes sense. Plus, you never know when just out of the blue, you're going to get an email that says, hey, you've been invited to audition to this job, or hey, I have a job for you on a site that you maybe even forgot that you were on. Because that happens. All right. Let's, holy Moses, there were so many more comments that just came in. Hang on. What just happened? Okay, here we go. Writer Dude says, good morning. A few minutes late. That's okay. I hope you brought the donuts. And enough for everybody. There's 43 people in here. I hope you brought a few dozen. Sophia says, I've got a couple profiles, but I haven't made a demo yet. And that is something that you'll definitely need. At the very least, samples, like individual samples of what you can do, because you need to be able to upload something. They're not going to hire you on your bio alone. You need to have a way for them to hear you. So definitely make some demos, or at least samples of your narration or your voiceover or your characters or whatever it is that you're going to focus on. Gregory says, Sean Lester, perhaps? Fiber Jazz said, I said none, but that is by choice. I am a DM person and non-exclusive agency, and I charge rates that are in line with GVAA. Well, there you go. That is the other thing to consider, is that there are, on these casting sites, some of them will also determine rates for you, which are most of the time pretty close to GVAA. Some of them are even better. Some of them are just below. But some of these other sites will allow you to dictate your own pricing. And there is where it's kind of a catch-22, because if you want to get started and you're not, we might be a little bit under, industry standards for rates. It's almost like paid internship, right? You're practicing, but you're charging a lower rate, which isn't necessarily a great thing. But I know a lot of people that have started a foundation that way. So that is something else to look at when you're considering what sites to be present on. Do they allow you to set your own rates? And are they going to be consistent with most everybody else? Or do they already have a predetermined rate based on, word count, time, whatever it is, minutes, right? Just make sure that you understand what you're signing up for, right? But you're right, not all of them are in line with GVAA. Real Copywriter says, I think I found my voice as a calm, mature narrator. I like ACX and Findaway because at least I can audition or do something. Fiverr and Upwork, I just sit there and hit the refresh button to no avail. Yeah, it sounds like that both of those profiles probably need a refresh. If you're not getting any traffic on either of them, then be proactive and make some changes. Change your pricing structure, change your thumbnail, change your title, change your tags. Make some changes, and that will usually help to reset the algorithms. And hopefully it will change for the better. Larry M says, I'm working with a lot of help from Christina to get my sound right. Submitted a few auditions on ACX, nothing else at the moment. I'll keep auditioning, because just, one or two auditions isn't going to win the day. And don't send one audition and then just sit there with bated breath for a response or feedback or anything like that. Just keep auditioning. Because again, this is just like any other sales, any other business. It's a numbers game. The more you audition, the more opportunity do you have to cross paths with a client that is looking for your voice, for your delivery. And you don't have that opportunity if you only audition once or twice, or, it could be a very serendipitous moment that you cross paths with that person on the first audition. It has happened, but it's not very likely. So you want to keep auditioning. Set yourself a goal every day for auditions, right? Tell yourself, write it down in your journal, whatever you have in front of you. 5 auditions a day, 10 auditions a day, 2 auditions a day, whatever that number is, just make sure that you adhere to it and you stay consistent with it. Tangent number 2. Glowin says, chat, please don't forget to smash that like button for a voiceover, Angela. It helps her algorithm. Yes, it does, Glowin. I appreciate you. I don't like tooting my own horn, but yes, please consider subscribing also. If you're watching this later, it really helps me out. Thank you so much. Thanks, Glowin. Chrissy says, I voted 1 to 3 because I didn't realize Fiverr and Upwork was included. Yes, casting sites, pay-to-plays, freelance marketplaces, anywhere online that you can find work on. That's what we're talking about today. Yes. Restore Balance says hello. Hello, Restore. How are you? Miriam says like hamburger. Oh, okay. Miriam Burger. Teehee. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Tyler Kaminsky says, I'm just on Fiverr and ACX. Got my first offer this week, too, through ACX. Well, congratulations. Bit of a tangent, but do you have any sites, resources you use if you come across words you don't know how to pronounce? Yes, Merriam-Webster online. There's also, if you're looking for something perhaps regional, what's been helpful for me is Youglish.com. What you do is you paste in or type in the word that maybe will have a regional pronunciation, and then you search. And then what the site does is searches through YouTube for all the videos that have that word, right? And then let's just say if it's a word and your character is from Maine, so you need like a Maine pronunciation of this word, it'll hopefully pull up some videos where someone from Maine is saying this word. Usually that's like a city name, a county name, a mountain, a river in that area. And there's usually a regional pronunciation of that. Youglish has been helpful for that. But for everything else, Merriam-Webster, the dictionary, right, online will have definitions, pronunciations. That's pretty much my go-to, not Google. Eric says, just wanted to say morning, Eric. Facebook user, this is Colette. Good morning, Colette. Hello. Restore says, that's a good idea. Hopefully I have those from time to time. Sometimes. We'll see. Oh, clicking buttons again. Dylan says, direct marketing for the next video, please. Oh, direct. Okay. Direct marketing. I'm writing it down. Direct marketing. You know who's really good has got, or who has really good information on direct marketing if you don't want to wait until next week? Mark Scott and Bill DeWeese have some really good information out there, courses. I think Bill even has like an ebook or two. Mark might also, but each of them have courses, masterminds, things like that available for direct marketing specifically. Dylan says, do I just cold call, email, stop in local places and drop off business cards? Yes, and yes. I would love to get into commercial work, but not sure how to crack that nut. Another thing you could do is also just Google these places. Google, production companies, studios, find them on LinkedIn, find out who to reach out to and reach out to them, right? Do a little bit of work, a little bit of investigative work, and reach out to them and just see if they're looking for fresh talent, if there's any room on their roster, why not? Glowin says, good morning, Eric. How's Callie today? Facebook user, this is Colette. She says, if I were going any slower, I'd be in reverse. Lots of trouble with setting up hardware. Well, by golly, we'll see if we can help you with that on Thursday. If you come into the group meeting, we'll see if we can help you troubleshoot. Melissa Alvarez says, good morning, everyone. I have a full house with birds, cats, dogs, and kids. What microphone do you recommend to make sure unwanted noise doesn't sneak into my voiceovers? You have quite the menagerie, and there's nothing that's going to guarantee that no errant noises will make it into your um, recording environment. There's nothing that will guarantee nothing goes through. But it sounds to me that I think the best thing for you is to probably purchase a, triple walled voiceover booth, right? If you want to be sure. I mean, that to me would probably be the best way, or to rent a studio space outside your home. Because if you're just building something in your home, sort of like what I have in here, which is just a weird little extraneous room that would just happen to be in my house, like it's a closet. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but I turned it into my studio. It's not soundproof, but the inside is treated for, echo and, dampening. So my voice doesn't bounce around and sound horrible in here, but it's not by any stretch soundproof. If a truck goes by outside, if a kid goes by skateboarding, motorcycle guy comes home, those noises come in. I just have to take a pause until they pass and then pick up where I left off. And then take out, the pause with the noise in post. But there isn't any microphone or anything that's going to absolutely ensure that no noise gets through, other than maybe a triple walled voiceover booth, like a Studio Bricks or a Whisper Room or something like that, unfortunately. Phantom Voice says, why does LibriVox make you record a 1-minute tongue twister in order to read and record stories? I don't know. Maybe just to see if you're really serious about doing it. Maybe they also want to see how well you handle narration, what your room sounds like. I don't recall having to do that when I joined, God, 5-6 years ago now, but that could be why. They would want to see your audio quality, what your room sounds like, if you're able to actually, adhere to the audiobook standards for the file. It could be a number of reasons. Sounds like fun, though. Gregory says, I would like to see a video on how to do editing in Adobe Audition in the waveform, the display of your work in those sunset colors. I'm pretty sure I have a few of those already, but there have been some updates to Adobe Audition, and I think that's a good one, because there have been some specific things that I've been asked to show in Adobe Audition, so that's another great idea. Thank you, Gregory. Constance Smith says, I missed it. What is the laptop you use? I prefer PC, but others say Mac is better. And you're going to have a lot of people say whatever they're biased about is better. I think you could do voiceover on either Mac or PC. I'm a PC user. A lot of people like Mac. A lot of people like PC. I think what it comes down to is how quiet it is, how much processing speed or RAM, right, that it has, memory. And did I ever say quiet? How quiet it is. Other than that, it doesn't really even matter. Oh, also the inputs, right? Does it have USB ports, USB-C ports? Does it have the connectivity that you might need for whatever interface you're looking at? Because some of those interfaces have USB-C plugs. Some of them have USB plugs. So that is the other thing that you want to take a look at, is the connectivity, the I/O. What kind of ports, plugs does it have? But I wouldn't say either or is better. I think they're about the same. Miriam says, just checked ACX and I have an offer and accepted. Good for you. Congratulations. We're sprinkling the luck all over everybody today, just talking about it. Dylan says to Melissa Alvarez, worry about sound treating your space first. No microphone will remove a lot of unwanted noise. A correctly treated space is key. Yes, treating your space is more important than the particular microphone that you choose to buy, because a $50 mic is going to make your room sound the same as a $5,000 mic. And that $5,000 mic will probably even enhance the poopy sound of your room. So treating your space first and foremost is a much better choice than which microphone you choose to buy. Fiber Jazz says to Dylan, you can begin by searching YP for advertising agencies and video production companies. Most companies that produce commercials do so through their ad agencies, not produced in-house. There you go. Melissa Alvarez says, thank you, Dylan. Phantom Voice says, I need to put my glasses on. Does anyone start listening to other people's voices and get self-conscious about your own voice and start thinking that your voice sucks? Yes. And I can probably guarantee you that at least 90% of everybody watching this right now went, yeah, me too. We've all been there. We've all done it. But again, Phantom Voice, I want to tell you that voice actors represent the world. We represent the voices of the world that do not do voiceovers, right? So there's a need for every voice to represent all the different demographics of all the people in the world, right? Race, age, ethnicity, whatever it is. So don't think that you're just because, Morgan Freeman is Morgan Freeman. There's no one touching that guy. But every voice is unique in its own way. So don't discount yourself just because you don't sound like this guy or that girl or whomever. Just be you and embrace it. Just focus on what you're doing and do your best at doing it. Don't worry about what they're doing. Focus on you. It doesn't matter what they're doing. Dylan says to Fiber Jazz, thank you. I'll start looking. Sophia says, just when I think I'm getting the editing down, I do another ACX audition right after and can't get the dang thing to pass and sound right. I'll figure it out eventually. Usually what I find, Sophia, is that we're just doing too much. We're doing too much, or we apply some effects. It doesn't come out right. And then we don't completely undo when we start over or go back to the raw file. Always keep a raw file, especially in the beginning. If you're just getting a hang of your editing and your mastering process, keep a raw file of what you're working on. So if you're applying effects, you're doing some stuff to it and the end result is not where you want it to be, but you can't really undo the steps far back enough, scrap it and go back to the raw file and try again. Just remember to name it something else, right? You have your raw file, and then when you open it, save it as, take 1 or edit 1 or edit 2 or whatever it is. That way the raw file stays unscathed and you can go back to it and keep trying over and over again. Otherwise, you'll have to re-record the whole thing, which really stinks. Guilty. But you will figure it out. Just keep at it. Caesar says to Melissa, oh, wow, that's a challenge. See about noise control first, seal up gaps, install sound curtains, then consider a mic with a tight pickup pattern like a Loughton Audio LS208. I like shotgun mics for that reason because they just sort of laser focus on whatever they're pointed at, because I also have a little bit of noise, but it's not intended to stop, kids in the house and birds chirping and dogs running about. It's just to kind of, because it's not going to pick up so much what's over here, not so much what's over here. You can't even see my hand, but just directly what's in front of it, which is my mouth, which is why I chose the shotgun. I have a story, says voiceover Angela. Thanks. You're welcome. Fiber Jazz says, congrats, Miriam. Dylan says to Phantom Voice, you should hear Caesar's voice. It's smooth and buttery and makes mine sound like a screeching infant. Okay. Caesar is, in my mind, and yes, I'm going to embarrass you again, Caesar, but Caesar is like a world apart. Like, he has just one of those very extraordinary and unique voices that, like a Morgan Freeman, very distinct, very recognizable. And it always reminds me of like Tim Curry. I love it. It makes us all sound like screeching infants. Real Copywriter says Squarespace is surprisingly easy. There you go. It is Squarespace. Okay. It even asks you what type of website you want, including a portfolio website, and it's highly customizable and very easy. I switched from Wix, which was pretty nice. I have Wix. I love Wix. There's nothing that I haven't been able to do with Wix. But there are also, is it voiceactor.com? There's a website out there that will actually build websites for you specifically for voice actors. So there's that too. It's not free, of course, but there's that option too. If you just don't have the bandwidth or the time, if you have the money, then you can have somebody else build it out for you. Larry says, I just removed I'm a newbie from my ACX profile. Thanks. Yes, please do that. Do not say that you're new. Joya says, can you do a video live on setting up and tips and tricks on websites focused on VO work? Um, you mean like for how to set up profiles for casting sites and things? That's a good idea. Although it would be interesting without having to share a bunch of personal information. That's a good idea, though. A little in depth on some casting sites. Caesar says to Dylan, nah, don't put your voice down. It's also very smooth and easy to listen to. It is. Everybody's unique in their own way. Don't ever put yourself down. Fiber Jazz says to Melissa, I agree with Dylan. Sound treatment is the way to go. It will deliver the best return on investment. Joya says Dylan should read more spicy. He's got a good voice for it, even if it makes him blush a little. It makes us all, well, maybe not all of us, but it makes most of us blush a little too. Spicy stuff. But I agree. Spicy Dylan. Spicy Dylan. Constance says, do you take voice lessons even though you are working full time? I currently don't, but I'm planning on it in the future. I think no matter where you are in this journey, you could be at the very beginning, you could be 10 years in. I think constantly learning and evolving is never a bad thing. I'm almost 6 years in, and I'm planning on getting some lessons from a couple of different coaches somewhere in the near future. So I'm going to keep evolving and learning and growing and getting better. So yes, never stop learning. Melissa says, thank you, Caesar. I'll check that out. Dylan says, oh, Lord, blush a little. It was for sure out of my comfort zone. I'm sure it's a whole lot easier when you don't have people staring at you too. Caesar says to Constance, Mac has its merits, especially for using an Apollo interface. Better compatibility, less headaches, but PC is very compatible when matching with the right hardware. Yeah, I think the UA Apollo is a Apollo Twin is not, from what I'm hearing, isn't quite compatible with some of the softwares within PC computers, mine included. I just happened to buy the Ryzen and it's not super compatible with it. Some people have heard or can't get it. Let me back up. I've heard some people can't get it to work at all with their PC, but then Apple people are like, yeah, it's great, no problem. So I also have a UA interface. It's not an Apollo, but it is a Volt because UA, and that works just fine. So that's another thing to look into, is that whatever computer you're looking at, look at the interface that you're looking at and make sure that they, Google the two, put the two names in a Google search and Google it and see if there's any Reddit posts or anything like that come up with any kind of potential compatibility issues, right? Do a lot of research before you buy these things. Joya says to Dylan, you can do it. You can do it. Real Copywriter says, how many auditions a day do you think we should do? And how many people should we cold email, message, or call? It seems like messaging on social media is a thing now as an alternative to email. I think you're right. I think that is more of an acceptable way to approach people than it used to be. It used to be, phone call, email, but now it seems like social media is just where everyone is, and it's acceptable to reach out to people that way. So I think you're onto something there. And that is another reason why I say to be on social media, even though you may, fear it, don't like it, don't want to engage, don't want to be visible, don't want to be available, whatever issues you have with social media, you're going to have to get past it, because if you want to be a business, you have to act like a business and have your business searchable, findable, available online. And that includes social media. That's where all the eyeballs are. You have to go where the eyeballs are. But I think the auditions a day that you decide to do is up to you. It depends on your availability and time. How much time do you have available every day to focus on this work? If you're full time, I would say go whole hog and 10 auditions a day, 5 auditions a day, on the higher end of auditions a day. But if you only have, a few hours a day to commit to this, then start a little bit slower or in a lower number, or maybe 5 every other day, whatever works for you. Marketing the same thing, I think really digging down to finding companies that you want to work with or for, and then finding the appropriate person to reach out to is going to take some time. So you could start by building a list first and then, getting a CRM like, oh gosh, what is it? The monkey, MailChimp, or something like that, where you can email people and keep track of when it's opened, if it's not opened, how if they responded, things like that. But you're right, social media. Don't underestimate the importance of social media. Hey, Blaze, how you doing, darling? Glad you're here. Joya says, I want to hear, I want to hear Blaze reading. Yes, Blaze needs to participate in the studio more often. Melissa says, I hired a sound engineer and he worked on my preset. He didn't say anything about my background noise, but he did mention I needed some bass traps. Well, there you go. Maybe your background noise isn't as much of an issue as you thought. Constance says to Caesar, thanks. Blaze, little hearts, thanks. Thanks, Blaze. Phil says, good God, I bought my laptop for $460 back then and I was hurting. Yeah, laptops are, the gaming laptops are just nuts. Ryder Dude says WordPress, there you go, is also a good website hosting service to start with. Most hosting services also have an inexpensive low tier to start with, as well as a free version. There you go. Caesar says to Phil, oh, this laptop purchase hurt, but I do a lot, and I have a lot of skill sets to tap into, including video editing, multi-track, music, VO, web development, animation. This will pay for itself. Yes, especially because I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think having the horsepower and the capability to do all the things that you do, Caesar, is going to take a little extra investment, and it'll be well worth it, that to be able to multitask and have many different software apps open and working, at one time on your computer, which will ultimately save you time to do things faster, more, and better, right? It's an investment for sure. Geok says also what not to include on your business website. No politics, including your social media. Those who need VO services are of all political sides. They are, and I think the political stuff is sort of a touchy subject. I know there's some voice artists who dive into doing some political stuff. I, for one, wouldn't mind, but it's hard if you don't agree. I guess that's where the acting and voice acting comes in. But I wouldn't want to put anything too personal, like religious stuff, political stuff on your website, because you could potentially, I mean, there's nothing wrong with, being proud of who you are and what you believe in, but I don't think that needs to be on your business website, because if you landed your dream client, but then they just don't disagree with some of your beliefs that you've got all over your business website, they may not reach out to you. You don't want to scare anybody away because they just maybe don't believe what you believe, right? I think that stuff doesn't need to be all over your website. It could just be me. That's my opinion. But again, that's the beauty of having your own business. You do what you want to do with your business. Fiber Jazz says to Constance, I no longer take voice lessons as in vocal singing lessons, but continue to periodically work with VO coaches on various aspects of VO and as my voice changes with age. Never stop learning and evolving. Geok says also what not to include on your business. I think that was a dupe. I think that was a duplicate. Melissa says, does anyone use shotgun mics for voiceover and audiobook narration? I do. I use this microphone for everything. What is your opinion on it as opposed to a condenser microphone? Main advantage is that it doesn't, again, focus so much on recording anything around the backside, the sides, above and below. It's, as you can see, it's very, very small and it's just pointed at my mouth. So this is mostly what it picks up. I like it. Jason says, I started watching your stuff. Thank you. Thank you for manning up about imposter syndrome. I'm right there with Started, yet another podcast. And thank you for your time. Well, thank you for watching, Jason, and for saying that. And imposter syndrome is a thing. I think we all experience it multiple times throughout this endeavor, maybe even daily. But it ultimately comes down to you and knowing that, with as many times as I've said it, that your voice is needed. Of course, you're going to, if you want to do this, if your why to do this is strong enough to invest the time, the training, right? The practicing, the building of all of the things that need to be built for your business, because make no mistake, this is a business, right? It's going to take time and sacrifice and investment. But imposter syndrome gets in the way all the time. You just got to flick that guy off and say, no, 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 this is what I want to do. Do not let fear of the unknown, of this, that, or what they're going to say stop you. Don't let fear of whatever decide your fate. You want to do this and your why is strong enough to do this, then do it. Everybody else just shuts up and you just do. All the voices in your head, shut them up. You do what you want to do. Tangent 3, 4, 5. Sophia says, I don't even know 7 sites to add a profile to. I think, seriously, if you just Google like voiceover casting sites, you'll see quite a few come up. There are literally over 100 of them. If you're in my Facebook group, someone not too long ago posted a list of quite a few of them, 20, I think it's at least. Lots. Fiberjazz says, I have multiple points of visibility on the net, but they are my own. Good for you. And that's ultimately what you want. You want to not have to be on these sites, but they're not bad. I mean, you want to have most of what comes to you through direct marketing, direct clients, or maybe even your agent. But, every once in a while to get a nice paying job on one of these sites is not a bad thing either. Constance says to Fiberjazz, that's good. I believe you always need a teacher in practice. For sure. Joe Pay says, on ACX, how do the authors contact us? They can reach out to you directly on ACX. They can send you messages. You have your own little inbox, right? Or if they send you a contract or an offer to work on their book, you'll get a notification for that too. And then at that point, you can message the author and negotiate or ask questions before you accept the contract, or they can just, email you within ACX and ask you questions. Jason says, dang, autocorrect is just as bad as my raw recording. I hate autocorrect. Real Copywriter says, I'm going to probably do at least 5 auditions every day from today on. Good. I'm ready to work. I usually fly 3 to 6 times per week and travel 300 days per year. That's a lot of traveling. I want to be a digital nomad, but on my own terms. I would love to do that. I think once, the eaglets fly the nest, I think I would definitely consider being a digital nomad for sure. Retire in Spain. I've always wanted to. So having a travel rig is going to be a necessity for you. Sophia says, I've only done a couple ACX auditions and wanted to get my audio editing sounding better before making a demo. I should probably just make one now and replace it when I can make a better demo. You could, and that's what a lot of us have done. But if you want some feedback on your demo, then if you're in my Facebook group, the VO Workshop, post that demo and get some feedback from everybody else on it before you post it on those profiles. You want to make a good impression. And yes, true, you can always replace those. You can always refresh those demos with new ones. But if you want some feedback, just a couple of extra pair of ears on something before you submit it, then you can do that. You have the permission in my group to upload a demo for feedback from the 2,000 other voice actors in my group. James Hallett says, have watched a lot of your videos, but first time catching live. Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Love and appreciate your guidance. Well, thank you for that, James. I appreciate you being here, spending a little bit of time with us today. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Good morning. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I appreciate you. What's it like in Oregon? Is it raining yet? Dylan says to Melissa, I use a Cinco D2 shotgun mic. I have a Rode NT1A also, and I like the Cinco better. Yeah, this is a Sennheiser 416 shotgun mic. About 6 months to a year after I bought it, Cinco came out with the D2, and then Booth Junkie did a video on the comparison between the Sennheiser 416 and the Cinco D2, and they're pretty much identical. And the Cinco D2 is like a fraction of the cost of the 416. So there's that. Melissa Alvarez says to Dylan Holt, what is the difference between the two mics? From what they sound like, if you go to Booth Junkie here on YouTube and search within his videos for Sennheiser 416, I think you can probably even type in 416 and D2, and that video will come up, and then listen between the two. Very similar. So I think for the most part, name and price would be the main difference between those two. Joe Pace says, how do authors contact us after an audition? Same way, through your inbox, or they'll send you an offer to start a contract. Constance Smith says, I just started. Do you recommend children's books or smaller books to start? You could start with whatever you want to start with. If you enjoy children's books and you're able to make character voices, because children's books, you're, for the most part, expected to do some character work because they need to be engaging for the children, and you can sustain those character books, then yes. If you like sci-fi, then go with sci-fi. If you like, nonfiction, then do that. Whatever you want to start with. Self-help, Sophia says, I've done one audition each day for the last 4 days and got my first rejection out of the way. And there'll probably be more. There'll more than likely be more. That's just part of the business, right? That's just nature of the beast. And that is why you keep auditioning. Audition, audition, audition. Because eventually you'll cross paths with that author who is looking for your voice. Eric says to Glowen, nice, mild finally, high of 80. We're going to be under 90 today here in the desert. I'm so excited. Dylan says, I feel the Cinco makes my voice fuller and more rich. The Rode makes my voice sound a bit metallic and one-dimensional. Different mics fit different voices, though, for sure. MG Steven says, Dear Tangent Queen, that would be me. All of your tangents are so helpful. I wouldn't say that. And are on the greater VO topic. So don't be too hard on yourself. Your subjects, followers here greatly benefit. Okay. I just feel that my tangents are very tangenty and probably irritating, but I guess not. Tiff Stella Reed says, Angela, I'm curious, what do you think of this? Do you think it's overall better to offer low ticket or high ticket offers? What has been more successful for you? I've started out with a mix of both, right? At the same time, like I'll have, because I'm trying to capture attention by a lower price point, but then of course it's something smaller. Like I forget what I did. Maybe not IVR, but podcast editing. I know it's not VO related, but I tried to find something with a low price point to sort of boost my algorithm for everything else on my profile on Fiverr, right? And then, of course, my audiobook one is a little bit more expensive. So I've got a mix of both. And I'm sort of beta testing, I suppose, to see which gets more traffic. But that's basically what this is for each casting site. For each pay to play, you're sort of testing out what works and what doesn't, right? Or just continually auditioning if you have a membership level that allows you to audition. But I think if you approach everything looking at it through like a customer lens, like what is the customer going to see? Is this going to be appealing? Is it appealing to me as a consumer? If I'm a brand new company starting out and I need voiceovers and I need a lot of them, but I can't afford to pay those super high rates, you know, if you have something that's attainable for them, but it's volume, right? So the volume of what you're doing makes up for the per piece, cost, then I mean, again, it's your business. You do what you want to do. And that's another reason why I say, oh God, here comes another tangent. That's why I always say to listen to everybody, right? Because there's a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of people on social media that do what I do, what you do, and then have a lot of opinions about what to do and what not to do. And they're not always going to align, right? But take in what everybody says. Take it all in. Because there may be something that I say and you take a little nugget and you go, oh, that works for me, but not so much the rest of it. And then you hear somebody else talking and you go, oh, that's a little nugget. I'm going to take that and use that for my situation, but not so much the rest. You never know when you're going to pick up a nugget that's going to apply to you and your situation and help you with something. So take it all in, make your own opinions, make your own decisions about things, and move forward with making your business what you want it to be. Restore Balance says, it's nice that you thoughtfully go through each question and give a meaningful answer. Thank you. That's the point. It's the whole point of this, right? Is to talk to each other and answer questions to the best of my ability. Pace says, Joe Pace, how to, okay, that's another duplicate. Melissa says, thank you for your input, Dylan Holt. Glowin says to Eric, this morning we woke up to heavy frost that hung on until almost 11 a.m. Winter is coming. Oh no. Start calling Glowin Stark. Winter is coming. Caesar says, ooh, Colette, I know, like hardware things. Hit me up. I'm like a hardwareinator person. Yes, Colette. Caesar, we keep forgetting we have a hardware techie person in our group. Reach out to Caesar and he'll probably help you through your hardware stuff. MG Stevens says, new experience this week, had to terminate an audiobook production on ACX as RH never sent manuscript despite multiple requests. Oddly, this rights holder was most complimentary on audition and looked good. I'm hoping maybe something just happened, and I don't know. That stinks though. I'm sorry that happened. Real Copywriter says, do you narrate mostly nonfiction or do you read fiction as well? And what do you prefer? You have a calm voice that seems like it's made for nonfiction, learning corporate narration and how-tos. That's exactly sort of my wheelhouse. I narrate mostly nonfiction, e-learning, video narration, corporate training. Those are sort of what I do most. Meditation, affirmations, hypnosis. I do mostly those things. I have done fiction, some fiction, but most of what I do is nonfiction. Women's empowerment, autobiographies, stuff like that. Most of what I do, yes. Caesar says to Melissa, oh shoot, Angela's right. Consider a booth, but that's a heavy investment. It is, but that's the only way that you could get close to preventing anything from coming in. You're still going to have a little bit of sound leakage, but that's probably the only way that you're going to get the least amount. Dylan's recommendation of a Synco D2 is also a microphone with a tight pickup pattern. Yep, a shotgun mic. Sophia says, I just finished my booth and I made out of free wood shipping box furniture pads. I've got a bunch of roosters, so I go throw them a snack before I record. If it's during the day. Haven't detected them yet. There you go. You're going to have to make yourself a remote rooster snack distributor. So when they start making noise, you just push a button and it releases some treats or some snacks for them to make them quiet. Patent pending. Real Copywriter says, I just love how quiet my MacBook Pro is. No fan noise. That's sweet. I have a story that says, I get that. Excuse me. I have to pause a lot for choppers and other traffic. Yeah, same. I think most people do. I think they just know and have it in for me. True. It could be completely quiet all day. And as soon as you hit that record button, oh, I got froggy all of a sudden. As soon as you hit that record button, The lawnmowers come out, the choppers are flying overhead, motorcycle guys awake, kids are going by on skateboards, dogs barking next. They all know. They just know, and then they know exactly when to come out all at the same time. MG Stevens says ACX was helpful, and I really wanted to do the book. I hope everything is okay with the RH as things happen. Mystery. Was very careful in email wording to terminate professionalism and hope for future. Very well done. Always stay professional, because you never know when that client's going to go, "Oh my gosh, this happened. I'm so glad that, you're still willing to do this. I'm so sorry that happened." And then they come back to you again. I've had that happen many times. Something just came up and they couldn't respond and came back to restart. Caesar says to Sophia, "Oh, wow, roosters are also a problem of mine. They're my neighbors. I also have katydids, fireflies, and cicadas. My soundproofing has taken care of most of that. Thank goodness." Wow. MG Stevens says, "Hope this is helpful to others. Sorry so long." It's okay. I'm sure it is helpful. Miriam says, "Where to find examples of how to read tone needed for an ebook fiction books?" Audible. YouTube. There are audiobooks on YouTube too. But Audible is a great place to go and listen to other narrators and to pick up things. Highly recommend for anyone aspiring to be an audiobook narrator. Training, listen to other audiobooks yourself, practice. Haley Sage says, "Thank you so much for such clear instruction. I'm just starting." Well, welcome to the family. "Have experience with Audacity, a little intimidated by the upfront purchase of Adobe Audition with plus plugins. Is it worth it for beginner?" How long did I have? I had Audacity for about 2 or 3 months. And then I went to Adobe Audition, and it was like I was looking at everything through a straw before. And then when I got Audition, it was like a whole new world, right? And there was so much more that I could do, see, understand, right? There was so much more I could do with it. So for me, it was definitely worth it. But that's a decision for everybody, right? There's also Reaper. There's also, what's another one? Studio One. There's a handful of DAWs out there, digital audio workstation, out there that you can choose from. A real copywriter says, "Great advice on saving that raw file." Yes. Yes. Especially if you're just learning. Keep it. Sophia says, "I started writing what each effect I add and what the ACX read is right after, so I can remember how many I did and what was working and what wasn't good." I did the same thing. I kept a notebook with just what I did, how much I applied, even the order in which you apply effects makes a difference. So there is a lot of trial and error at this stage, but just know that you will get through it. You will find the right way. And if you just end up throwing your hands up and going, "I can't do this. This is just so frustrating," just know that you can also hire an audio engineer to help you, right? You can hire them and they'll do a booth audit with you. They'll help you with mic proximity. They'll maybe suggest ways to keep things more quiet. And then they'll work on you with presets and finding the right effects and which order to apply them. Very, very helpful and worth the investment for sure. Fiber Jazz to MG Stevens says, "That's a very odd situation. It sounds as though you handled it perfectly. Thank you for sharing the story." Agreed. I think you handled it very well. Sophia said, "Yeah, it only took me one time of forgetting to save the raw file to make me never want to forget it, save it again." Always keep your raw file. Gregory to Caesar, "Is the dream bass you'd want in your a cappella group? Like butter." Caesar's voice is like butter. Miriam says, "Thank you, Fiber Jazz." Sophia says, "I saw in your group people mentioning Isotope cutting down on editing time. Is that a DAW or plugins?" Isotope, and it's even spelled correctly. That's how it's spelled. If you go to isotope.com, it is a suite of plugins. There's 3 different packages they have. And the packages are Elements, which is their basic, Standard, which is the middle of the row one, and then there's the Advanced. If you want to look into buying these suite of plugins, right, it's a group or a bundle of plugins, you want to look at the Standard. You want to ultimately end up with the Standard package because that has the mouth declick, not the declick, the mouth declick. Gets rid of all that noise, that mouth noise that we have just inherently as human beings. But that one plugin has saved me 80% of my editing time from having to manually brush out all of that mouth noise because coffee, you're going to have to pry the stuff out of my dead hands, right? I'm not giving up coffee. So, mouth noise, mouth declick, that plugin has been huge for me and saving me so much time. Worth it. I tried looking at the website, but it was all gobbledygook to my brain at this point. Give yourself some time. If it gets to the gobbledygook, level, leave, take a break, take a breath, come back to it later, and it'll make more sense, I promise. Phantom Voice says, now I want to hear Caesar's voice. Where can I hear it? I'm hungry now that you said buttery voice. Forgot my lunch at home, and now I'm on a forklift right now. I'm telling you, Caesar, get out there, Caesar. Eric says, side question. I've never joined a Thursday night group. Where can I find info on how? And do I need a cam? On my website, voiceoverangela.com, you go to plans and pricing, and we're referring to my platinum group. That is a monthly subscription. It's a monthly membership fee. And with that, we meet every Thursday night for a couple of hours and we work out the wheel of emotions. We do, cold reads. We interpret scripts. We're doing character work on Halloween this week on Thursday, like a character kind of a thing. We have a lot of fun. It's very casual, but we get the work done. We have a lot of laughs. But that's where you find that. It's called the Platinum Group. And you don't need a webcam per se, but you do need to join via Zoom. So you will need to, I think you can join just with your telephone if you want to. But no, you don't need to have a actual webcam to join. Caesar says to Gregory, thanks. I admire your voice too. Plenty of silk. Yes, yours is silky. That's a good adjective. Phantom Voice, I haven't gotten anything out yet, but I'm quite active in Angela's Platinum Discord. Shameless plug. Yeah, with the Platinum group, you also get access to our Discord, which is worth the fee in and of itself. You can watch other people work, ask questions in the chat. We have a major audiobook production that we're putting together as a group. You can ask questions, share anecdotes, share memes. It's a great time. Melissa says, what do you do if a client requests music with their voiceover? Where do you find free, no copyright music you can use? If you can't or don't have access to music, then just say, hey, I don't offer this at this time. But every so often you will come across this. I don't use free, copyright-free music or royalty-free music because there's always an opportunity. It seems clearing up copyright issues with stuff that is free is more brain damage than I'm prepared to deal with. So I actually pay for a license to use all the royalty-free music that I use. I use storyblocks.com. And I have everything because I also do podcast editing. I also do meditation videos, right? So I need the stock footage. I need the video loops. I need the sound effects. I need the music. I need everything that they have. So I have the whole package, but I have a license to use it. So if there's any time where any kind of copyright issue comes up, I just submit my license and it's cleared up within minutes. So there's a lot of these sites out there. I think Mixkit, is it Orange Music? YouTube Studio has a lot of music you can use. But again, anything that's free, you're going to run into the likelihood of more copyright issues with free stuff. Because people using it free will try to copyright it when they're not supposed to, which causes issues for everyone else using that same piece of music, and it might take a little bit longer to get it cleared up if there's no licensing involved, right? Fiber Jazz to Sophia, mouth clicks are the bane of my VO existence. Same, facts. And the Isotope plugin is my salvation. It also has a good plugin for sibilance, if that is an issue, as well as other nifty things. Same. Caesar says to Melissa, did you mention needing bass traps? You can use EQ in lieu of bass traps until they're available. I still need to build my bass traps, but I had to prioritize soundproofing. Real Copywriter says, if nothing else, if paying for a monthly website is too expensive, having to also pay for a business email address, I'd suggest getting Google Drive and storing your portfolio and other files there. See, there's always a workaround. Always a workaround. Don't let anything stop you from moving forward. Where's my chapstick? Caesar says to Melissa, as for music, I hear a lot of good things about Pixabay. Oh, that's right. Pixabay. A lot of people use Pixabay. Other options are Audio Jungle, Artlist, I think Epidemic, and much more. Fiber Jazz to Melissa. I reply to such requests by quoting my fee for providing that added service. That usually makes them rethink the request. Or they say, okay, and then they do it. Melissa says to Caesar, yes, I installed my bass traps this weekend, but now I feel I need to work on my soundproofing a little bit more and invest in a shotgun mic. Once you get the bug to buy gear, gear. Writer Dude says an option for someone to look into is an upgradable laptop, such as a framework, which also has expansion cards for different types of parts that you can swap out. Caesar says to Melissa, as an added bonus, a soundproof room or booth doubles as a Zen room. I often meditate in my studio. Best place in the house to do it in. Jeffrey 906 says, I was traveling and tried to record in places that I stopped over. It was very hard finding a quiet place when not at home. I imagine traveling as a voice actor is going to have its speed bumps and complications, but I think you could probably find ways to get around most of it as long as you have a good gear, a good setup, good travel rig. Caesar says to Writer Dude, I have seen those modular laptops and I think they are the future. I really hope they take off. Having bits you can remove and replace is invaluable. Yeah, and upgrade. Caesar says, funny thing, first time I found Angela was through a YouTube recommendation. I made a playlist of her videos and listened while I was renovating the room that would eventually become my studio. That's cool. Makes me a little self-conscious, but I'm glad it helped, Caesar. I'm glad that you came into my life, Caesar. Fiber Jazz to Jeffrey. I rarely record while traveling, so I haven't invested in a portable ISO booth, but I would think I would if traveling frequently. Maddie C says, do you ever sing for practice? Heck no, I wouldn't subject anyone to that. I just use whatever scripts that I am recording that day. I'll use that. And I think everybody in last week's Platinum meeting saw me do that. You just take the script you're about to read it over a few times, give it a couple of different, intonations and a different, feel it out with your mouth before you say it out loud and use that as a warm up. That's what I do. Caesar says, I do sing for practice. I also sing to drive away people than when I want to be left alone. I should consider that too. Real Copywriter says, I had my first rejection on ACX a few days ago, but the rights holder was so kind and took the time to leave a thoughtful message. That's always nice. She obviously knew that even editing an audition takes a little time. That's awesome. Fiber Jazz to Maddie C. Always. It is a part of my daily warm-up. Plus, I love to sing. May not be great to listen to, but I sing my heart out nonetheless. Well, maybe in the shower I do, but that's about it. I wouldn't subject anybody else to it. Real Copywriter says, and the rejection on ACX was only because she had already found a narrator. Well, that's nice. Maybe she'll keep you in mind for the future. So always be professional. Always say please and thank you, right? Mind your manners. Fiber Jazz to Real Copywriters. That is one fine rights holder. Maddie C says, I have a hearing sensitivity condition, so I can't listen to instruments anymore, but I can still listen to singing. Well, that's good. Always look at the bright side. Amanda Panda says, I'm not sure what a casting site is into this LOL. Any kind of online platform in which you find voiceover or audiobook work. That's what we're talking about. Facebook user, this is Colette. Caesar, I'll do that. Thanks for the offer. Caesar says to Maddie, have you considered loop earplugs? The Loop Engage Plus model minimizes environmental noise, but still allows you to hear upfront conversations very clearly. Technology. Amazing. Jeffrey says to Fiber Jazz, yeah, for sure. So many times I was getting up at 1 a.m. in an area to get the quiet time I needed to record. However, looking out the window at Devil's Tower while recording was awesome. Sounds awesome. Maddie to Caesar says, I still have most of my hearing, thankfully. I'm just at risk of losing it because my hearing is very sensitive. Oh, I can't imagine. I have a story. I think I'm better at historic fiction or spooky stories. Same. I'm the horror girl. I love horror stuff. It's time to float. Tim Larkfield says, I heard that on ACX, once you've produced a certain number of audiobooks, you get access to more higher quality, higher paid books. Is this true? Not in my experience. Not in my experience. It's you dictate your rates and you dictate what kind of books you're looking for. I would think that you would have more people reach out to you if you had more titles under your belt, right? Because people, I would even think that people can search your name. You can search your name as a narrator on Audible. And if they see all the titles that you've done and they've listened to a few and they like you, they can go back to ACX, search your name, and find your profile page too. So I would think that the more titles you have under your belt, the more you can request as your rate, and the more often you'll probably be sought out to work. So just a natural progression of things. Caesar says to Maddie, good thing. Yes, that's why I suggested those loop earplugs. They're invaluable for people with hearing sensitivity. They also have a 26 dB soft silicone model for sleeping. Oh my gosh, it's been an hour and a half already. Okay. Amanda Panda says, I want to see Caesar. Fiber Jazz says, Caesar, do you know whether those earplugs help with tinnitus? Wow, Colette's got peacocks and heavy traffic. Wow. Alessandro says, hello, Angela. I'm from Brazil, and I love you. You are an amazing professional. Well, thank you. Obrigada. Thank you very much. Mamanda Panda says, downside of audition, subscription. Yeah, but, if you want to audition, there's also Reaper. I think there's a one-time fee for Reaper, I think. But, do what you want. Choose whichever one speaks to you or works the best for you. Phil says to Haley, I use Audacity with preset for ACX requirements, D-Reverb, and NS1, and it works just fine. Caesar says to Fiber Jazz, unfortunately, earplugs make tinnitus worse. White noise, I think, is a better solution for tinnitus, tomato, but do consult with a professional. I'm just going by what I know. Fiber Jazz says, thanks, Caesar. MG Steven says, thanks, Fiber Jazz. Caesar says, happy to help to Fiber Jazz. Amanda Panda says, I just ran the D-Click for 8 months before I realized it was the culprit for wrecking my audio. Oh, no. Sophia says, what an average booth audit run. I'm thinking that might be more beneficial than buying a bunch of plugins. They can also use the plugins that you have. If you have them, they will tailor it to what you have. Obviously, the less amount of effects you have to apply, the better. Some of them will offer a course or some kind of training with it. Some of them don't. So I think just off the top of my head, they range from anywhere from probably, God, I don't even know, $300 to $800, depending on what they offer. I'm not sure. But you can find Tim Tippett, was who I used. You can find him at voguru.com. There's also Lenny B. And there's also Uncle Roy Yokelson. And Uncle Roy is in our Facebook group if you're in the VO workshop. So reach out to them and ask them, what it would cost to do a booth audit with them. Kelsey V says, Angela, I missed last week in the process of fixing my sleep schedule. Happy to be here with everyone. Fixing your sleep schedule. My sleep, garbage. At least you're sleeping. Happy you're here, though. Happy you're here. It's getting hot. I think it would be time to turn on the AC. Whew. All right. Joya says, if you don't have the money for Isotope's RX10 Standard, you can opt for the production suite for around $20 subscription. I found I love RX10, Neuron's Auto EQ, and Ozone 11's Auto Compressor. Again, there's not one way to do this, right? There's a lot of different variables to consider when putting all of these pieces together. There's not one right way to do it. Thank you for bringing that up, Joya. Caesar says to Sophia, yes, physical treatment beats plugins anytime. Yes, the damage is around 5K for a standard single wall, but you can go as high as 7K, 11K, and even higher for double wall boots and triple wall boots. Kelsey V says, make sure you research the different types of copyright license. Make sure it's 100% free to use. Facebook user, this is Colette. She says, what is a bass trap? It looks like, I actually have one that I can't quite reach under my desk here. I got it. This is a bass trap. It like goes into the corners of your studio, your recording space to, I guess, improve the sound of the studio or I can't think of the exact, not to deaden, but to dampen. I can't think of it at the moment, but that's essentially what a bass trap is. It's you put it in the corners of your booth to improve. I can't think of it right now. It's escaping me. Oh, well, I got to get going. Okay. Amanda Panda says, I want to see Caesar soundproofing. I think Caesar does have don't you have pictures of your studio somewhere, Caesar? Real Copywriter says, I use Epidemic Sound, but have also used Soundstripe. Never heard of Soundstripe, which is great too, and gets ads from Storyblock ads too. Never heard of Soundstripe. Let's check it out. Maddie C says, do you usually do voiceovers with lipstick, chapstick, or bare lips? Chapstick. I just don't do lipstick. I'm not much of a girly girl. I don't do lipstick, but chapstick, absolutely. Chapstick, any kind of lip balm, Vaseline, because that will help to reduce a lot of the mouth clicks if your mouth gets dry. Caesar says to Sophia, if you're handy with home renovation, consider door seals, double pane windows, weather stripping, and acoustic curtains. Really invest in your sound booth. Caesar to Amanda Panda, not much to see. It's a very heavy door made of rock wool and mass-loaded vinyl with a bottom seal and a very heavy sound curtain that's Velcro sealed all around. Joya says, just made tea for my afternoon dual duet recording session. Wow. Yep, I'm reading a dual duet with someone. Any tips? Take your time. If you can see them, to work with them, to bounce off of them, react with them, I think that's usually the best. But take your time. Take all the time you need. Fiber Jazz says, hope you have a ton of fun at Joya. Excuse me, Amanda Panda to Caesar. I still want to see it. I have tree frogs and can't record at night. There's no insulation in the walls either. Oh boy. Maddie C says, what songs do you sing in the shower? Whatever's playing on the YouTube. I have my mix on YouTube. It's usually either Depeche Mode, George Michael, Marilyn Manson, or who else? 30 Seconds to Mars, Linkin Park, Metallica, whatever's on. Even some of the older stuff, Journey. Caesar says to Amanda Panda, oh God, tree frogs. Are you in Angela's Platinum Discord? I can share with you there. Larry M says $60 for Reaper, one-time fee. Don't fear the Reaper. I love it so far. There you go. Don't fear the Reaper. Fiber Jazz says, time for me to sign off. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a good week. Same. I got to get going too, everyone. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you. Caesar says, have fun. Fiber Jazz. Amanda Panda to Caesar. No, but I am on Discord. Every time I think about getting into long form, something goes awry with my audio every time. I wonder what that is. Joya says, I'm addicted to plugins, like Caesar is addicted to buying techie stuff. You would think there's only so many different plugins you could buy. But I guess there is quite a few of them, aren't there? Real Copywriter says, thanks, Angela. I'll be waiting for that updated Adobe Audition video. I'll probably fall asleep to your demo reel of meditations and hypnotherapy later tonight. Well, if you want your own custom meditation, hypnosis, or affirmations recording, you know where to come. It's one of my specialties. But thank you. Actually, Kelsey V just came in with a good one here. Goodbye. Everyone have a great day, and try to audition for one thing today. At least one thing today. Everyone get out there and audition. But I appreciate everyone being here today, for taking a little bit of time to spend with me here in the chat. I'll see you guys all next week for Halloween. And audition often. Audition a lot. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate it. If you have an extra moment, please feel free to leave a review. We'll see you next time.